Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to talk about story elements. Now, story elements can also be called literary elements. Literary elements and story elements are the same thing. They're the parts or the pieces that we put together to make up a story. So you could have problem and solution in a story. You could have the theme, the big idea from the story of what the lesson is in the story. You could have climax, which is the action in the story. The plot goes along with the action in the story. The plot goes along with the beginning, middle, and the end. Then you have the setting, where the story takes place and when the story takes place. And then you have characters. And characters are a person or an animal that's doing the action in the story. Well, we're not going to cover all the story elements today or all the literary elements today. We're going to concentrate on 3 of those. Okay? Characters are the ones that are doing the words and doing the actions. And these kids here, they're saying the characters in the book are very funny. Okay, so characters are in a story. We'll talk about characters today, and we'll talk about setting. Setting is where and when the story takes place. So here we have this princess, and she says, I know of a story which takes place in a castle 300 years ago. So when did it take place? 300 years ago. And where? It was in a castle. Setting is when and where. And then the other literary element or story element we're going to talk about today is called the plot. The plot is the problem. Okay? There's a problem, there's important events, and then there's a solution in the story. So this little girl saying, my favorite story is about a rabbit who gets lost. Okay? The plot is what happens in the story. All the important things that happen. And you can figure that out by thinking what happens at the beginning, what goes on in the middle, and then what goes on in the end. And then you cover the plot of the story. So if you have this handout that goes with Pushing Up the Sky, it's page 163 at the bottom. It says literary elements at the top. And remember, you might hear it called story elements. Literary elements, story elements, it means the same thing. This is the handout we're going to do together today. Okay? And at the top it tells us a character is a person or animal in a story. You learn about characters by their words and their actions. And then it also tells us, so that was character right there. It tells us the setting is when and where a story takes place. When and where a story takes place is the setting. And then we have the plot. The plot of the story includes the important things that happen at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end of the story. Okay, boys and girls? We are going to read this passage. So I'll read this passage to you, and then we'll complete this chart below that goes along with our literary elements, our characters, our setting, and our plot. So it says, Lion and Mouse were best friends. They lived in the middle of a grassy plain where Lion hunted zebras and Mouse ate seeds and nuts. Late one afternoon, Lion was caught in a hunter's net. Mouse heard his roars and rushed over to help. She chewed on the ropes around her friend until he was able to get free. Thank you, Mouse, said Lion. A true friend would do no less, replied Mouse. Okay, what a great story. Lion and Mouse, well, they're best friends. Okay, we're going to use the information from this story to complete this chart. I'm going to write the character's name and a word to describe each character. We're going to write phrases that tell the setting. If you're writing phrases, you're not writing complete sentences. Then we're going to write a sentence down here at the bottom that summarizes the plot. Okay? I'm going to push this up a bit and make it a little bit bigger, and we will fill in this chart. And again, if you have this chart, this paper, that's awesome. You can fill it in. If not, you can make your own. You could pause the video and make your own. Okay? And you could pause the video and read the story again if you would like. All right, so who are our characters? Who are the characters in this story? Who are the characters? We have two characters in this story. If you said lion and mouse, you are correct. So for number 1, we're going to put lion. And the number 2 character, as I know you have said to yourself, would be mouse. So we have characters. We have lion and we have mouse. Well, the directions tell us to write each character's name, and then it says to write a word to describe characters. When you describe, you say what they're like. So let's see. Let's look back in our story. Let's think. What does lion do? What does mouse do? How would we describe them? Okay. Well, mouse seems to be very helpful, don't you think? Because mouse heard lion in trouble and ran to help. See, it says mouse heard roars and rushed over to help. So for mouse, we could definitely say mouse is helpful. Good job. Anything else you can think of about lion and mouse? What else do you know about lion and mouse from our story? Well, I think you're right, boys and girls, if you thought of this one about mouse being a true friend, because mouse talks about being a true friend. So a true friend would help somebody, would be loyal to them. So for mouse, we're going to put that mouse is helpful and that mouse is loyal. If you're loyal, you stick by your friend and you help them. And you don't give up on your friend. You are loyal to them. Okay, then how would we describe lion? Boys and girls, kids always like to say the lion's big and mouse is small, because that's just an obvious thing. And even though it doesn't say in the story about lion being big and mouse being small, if you want to write that, that's fine. In the past, I've let students go ahead and write that, because it's true. But what after reading the story would be a word that would describe lion? So if mouse is helpful and loyal, and lion gets caught in a net, and mouse helps lion, lion would be what? Try to think what words you're saying. You might be saying grateful. You might be saying thankful. Students in the past have always wanted to put down thankful, because lion is very thankful, because lion says thank you right there. So lion is thankful. See, thank you, mouse, said lion. Lion is thankful because mouse helped. So lion is big and thankful. Mouse is helpful, small, loyal. Those are our characters. Okay, moving past the characters, let's go to setting. For the setting, we'd like the place and the time. For the setting, we'd like the place and the time. You have to look back in the story to get that. So I'm going to look back in the story. It says lion and mouse are best friends. They lived in the middle of a grassy plain. So that's where they are. They are in the middle of a grassy plain. So the place where they live is a grassy plain. All right. That's the place. Now, does it give us a time when this story actually is going on? Well, let's look back. It says lion and mouse were best friends. They lived in the middle of a grassy plain, where lion hunted zebras and mouse ate seeds and nuts. Then it goes on to say, late one afternoon, lion was caught in a hunter's net. So when was he caught? Well, late one afternoon. Late one afternoon is when he was caught. And where were they? What place? They were on the grassy plain where they live. And then the plot of a story is the beginning and middle and the end, and you're going to kind of put it all together what happened. It wants us to write a sentence that summarizes the plot. So a sentence that tells us, puts all together what happens kind of beginning, middle, and end, or at least, and what happens, at least the middle and end, what happens, what's the big deal? Well, what do you think is the big deal? Yes, boys and girls, I would agree. I would say the big deal is Lion gets caught in a trap. Lion was caught in a hunter's net. And then what happens at the end? The mouse chews the ropes. See, she chewed at the ropes around her friend so that he was able to get free. So, Lion was caught in a hunter's net. But Mouse chewed the ropes and set him free. Lion was caught in a hunter's net, but Mouse chewed the ropes there. That sentence summarizes what happened. Lion was caught in a hunter's net, but Mouse chewed the ropes and set him free. Okay, boys and girls, that's our plot. Plot has important events that happen in the story. So we have our characters doing the action. We have the setting, where and when the story takes place. And then we have our plot, what happens in the story, okay, the important events. Make sure you have that all filled in, boys and girls. And thank you so much for following along. And if you need to start it over and watch it again, please do so. Remember, these are called literary elements when you talk about characters, setting, plot. Also literary elements are problem solution, theme, and they can also be called story elements. All right, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.